Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, fire teams, squads, platoons, and all other units, welcome. I am Stephen with a V. Do you have a DD Form 214? I may not look like it at first glance, but I am a military veteran and I was trained to use a weapon of war. The M16 was the weapon that I was trained on and was the only one I needed. That training was not casual or recreational. It was systemic, disciplined, and grounded in understanding that the weapon, particularly a military-grade weapon, was a tool with a singular and serious purpose. My service, however, took a different path. I served as a firefighter, and the firefights I found myself in were not exchanges of gunfire, but battles against smoke and flames. In those moments, people running away from burning buildings, while I've been trained to walk calmly and deliberately towards them. Service shapes you, and that experience taught me courage, responsibility, and the importance of keeping a clear head in dangerous situations. I also believe deeply in the Second Amendment, but I believe just as strongly in sensible, rational gun control. The two are not mutually exclusive. The Second Amendment references a well-regulated militia, which in the 18th century referred to citizen soldiers organized at the state level. A concept that eventually evolved to what we now know as the National Guard. The modern Guard did not exist when the amendment was written, but the idea behind a well-regulated citizen force remains relevant. It implies training, standards, responsibility, and oversight. Many gun advocates argue that their need for firearms for home defense, hunting, and sporting or target shooting. I understand all three of these reasons. I understand the fascination with guns. I have enjoyed firing them. I have experience with handguns, long rifles, and shotguns, and I can hold my own in a skeep or a trap range. But I also understand the difference between appreciating firearms and being dependent upon them. In my 68 years on this planet, I have never felt once the need to keep a loaded weapon in my home, in my car, or on my hip while standing for a cup of coffee. And I lived in Oakland, California for a while, hardly a city without challenges. So I'm genuinely confused about what some individuals are so afraid of. For example, what would possess a grown man to walk around carrying something meant to look like a bazooka, especially when it's not a bazooka at all, but merely a non-functioning pipe designed to imitate one? None of the common justifications for gun ownership, home defense, hunting, or sport shooting require or are even remotely served by lugging around an anti-tank weapon, real or not. It raises the question whether an object is about safety at all or simply about imitation, performance, or fantasy. The truth is that all three of the purposes gun owners cite commonly can be completed with three simple weapons: a revolver, a lever or bolt-action long rifle, or a pump-action or breech-loading shotgun. These are reliable, effective, and time-tested tools, more than adequate for self-protection, putting food on the table, or for practicing marksmanship. None of these purposes require high-capacity magazines, military-style rifles, or weapons designed for rapid, sustained firing. I believe that before anyone receives a weapon, there should be a complete and comprehensive background check. Just like many other countries, this should include fingerprinting, a mental health screening, and proof of insurance for that specific firearm, just as you must insure your car before driving it. Likewise, each firearm should be registered, insured, and traceable. When a weapon is sold or transferred, written notification should be required within a reasonable time frame before physical possession changes hands. A mandatory gun and marksmanship class should be also part of the process, with instruction tailored to the owner's specific weapon. Fees collected from these steps could be used to fund gun safety programs, educational efforts, and community programs addressed at gun-related issues. These are not extreme measures, they are basic standards for responsibility. Reasonable exceptions could be made for former and current law enforcement, active duty military, with approval from their commanding officer, military medical personnel, and honorably discharged veterans. Even then, confirmation from law enforcement and medical authorities would be appropriate. Research should also be done to look into barcode technology or micro-serialization on individual rounds of ammunition. Such innovations will allow each round to be traced from manufacturer to retailer to purchaser and, if necessary, to crime scene. Responsible gun owners, those protecting their homes, hunting legally, or practicing marksmanship, should have no issue with this level of accountability. So do not fear guns or gun owners. The vast majority are rational, responsible individuals who respect the powers of their tools, understand safety protocols, and likely have attended classes and training. But there are others who do not fall into these categories, and they're the ones we must be concerned about, not the responsible majority. If I had the disposable income, I would like to own one of each of the 3 guns I mentioned earlier: a simple revolver, a lever or bolt-action long rifle, a pump-action or breech-loading shotgun, maybe even one of each. I would know all the ancillary costs that would be included in the overall cost of that weapon. I would gladly pay the fees, insurance, and all the other costs of proper registration. And I would also likely still vote for laws that would make it more expensive to legally acquire any type of gun. When you're around firearms, stay aware. Keep your head on a swivel. Know who's handling the weapon and whether they are someone you can trust. Veterans in particular can offer safe, reliable guidance rooted in training and experience. In the end, the responsible gun ownership and effective gun regulations can coexist. In fact, they must coexist because safety is not a restriction but a shared responsibility. But before we run out of time, it's meme 15. For me, the fact that there is a rise of flat earthers is evidence of 2 things. 1, we live in a country that protects free speech. And 2, we live in a country with a failed educational system. Neil deGrasse Tyson. In the early 1900s, Minnie Cox became the first black female postmaster in Mississippi. When local pressure forced her out, President Theodore Roosevelt kept paying her salary and rerouted the town's mail 30 miles away until her position was restored. Now I arrived at your place. Everything is strange and I do not feel good. Do not be impatient if I don't sleep in my new basket. Yesterday I slept on straw. Don't be terrified if I gobble up my food. Yesterday I had to do it to survive. Do not get angry if I pee in the house. Yesterday it did not matter. Do not be sad if I'm afraid of your loving hand. Yesterday it was a rarity that someone caressed me. Have patience with me. It's your world, but not yet mine. If I trust you, I'll give you the greatest gift I can give, my heart. Never forget, I was a stray dog. Book collecting is an obsession, an occupation, a disease, an addiction, a fascination, a fate. It is not a hobby. When France was occupied by the Germans in 1940, Citroën was compelled to produce vehicles for them. The company decided to lower the fill line on their dipsticks, which caused the trucks to seize under stress due to insufficient oil levels. When I talk about the pistol and the rifle that I carried around Afghanistan and my familiarity with weapons of war, I respect the Second Amendment. I support people's rights around sporting, self-defense. But make no mistake, if you are concerned about an overbearing government, the thing that keeps you safe is not a gun, it is your vote. And if we allow our democracy to be taken from under our nose, a closet full of ARs isn't going to help you when the time comes. Pete Buttigieg. So until next time, always keep your weapon pointed down range and keep your breech clean. I'm Stephen with a V. I'll see you on the next turn. Please like, share, and subscribe.